Welcome back everybody to the World of Wraith YouTube channel. As always, I got with you guys another video. This one's a little different, not a market watch, not a deck profile, no story time, but we remain the same, not financial advice. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about how to make some extra money, how to make some bread, moolah, gouda, cheese, but I'm not a rapper. At these Flesh and Blood World Tour stops. Now, they did announce that in 2026, every Flesh and Blood World Tour stop, I should say, is going to be at least a calling and a battle harden, or I think they're actually changing them to showdowns. Now, of course, Flesh and Blood has the best organized play. You can play competitively, you can win these major events and make some money, but I'm not going to be talking about that. I'm going to be talking about something else. Everybody should have cards. If you have some extra cards, you can sell your cards. You can sell tickets. Now, if you don't know what tickets are, we're going to get a little bit into that later. As well as you can sell vouchers / buy vouchers to get tickets. And like I said, we're going to go a little bit into that in just a bit. But first, let's talk about selling cards. Everybody, if you're playing Flesh and Blood, you probably have some extra cards, maybe in your binder, maybe you're hoarding them in a little box and just waiting for the right time to sell them. Now, I'm going to be using Nebula Blade as an example here. Currently, it has 15 listings, and we can think of their sold listings as, they've sold for this much, $17 at its highest point, but looks like it sold for about 10 to 12. Now, the market value, we can think of it as $35. You're probably not going to ever sell a card for 100% TCG player value. If you're selling it to a player, which is usually the best value, it can usually be 80 to 95% value. Now, if you're going to vendors, you can usually expect around 60% in cash and 75% in store credit. Now, these are usually for good cards that the vendors think they can sell. If you bring the vendors cards that they don't think they can sell, they're going to give you a worse rate. Now, how do we sell to the players? For North America, at least, the Flesh and Blood TCG marketplace is pretty good on Facebook. Just join that. If you're outside of the US, shout out all my international viewers. I'm sure that there's groups for your region, so definitely look at that. But you can definitely join the Purple Discord. I'm going to leave a description, the link to join the Purple Discord, and look specifically in event marketplace. The best thing about selling at events to other players is you don't have to ship, you don't have to package your cards and go to the post office and all of that. You can just meet in person, sell the card then and there. And usually selling directly to another player will give you the best value. If you go to a vendor, I was saying they give you around 60% for a good card, a card that they can sell. They know they're not going to have any hard time selling it. Anywhere from 60, maybe 65. And store credit is also usually an option for a lot of vendors. And usually it's anywhere from 70 to 75, maybe even 80, depending on the vendor. Now, there are cards that the vendor don't think they can sell, and they're going to give you a worse rate than 60%. We're going to look at Blade Beckoner Helm as an example. Currently, Blade Beckoner Helm has 30 listings on TCG Player. Looks like everybody's trying to offload it for about $5. But even though there's 30 listings, there's a ton of stock. As a vendor, if you're looking at this, you're probably not going to want to buy it, as you would have to undercut all the vendors. Paying 60% might not be worth all the trouble. If we're looking at a card earlier like Nebula Blade, the sold listings were only about $10 to $12, the highest one being $17, when the market price reflects $35. So a vendor probably wouldn't want to pay 60% value on that either. These harder to sell cards, the vendors will give you a lower value. So that's why I usually recommend selling to a player. If you can sell a Blade Beckoner to a player for maybe $4, whereas if you go to a vendor, maybe you can expect $1.50 to $2. Now, sometimes the vendors will give you store credit as an option, and even though you're not making money selling store credit, it can give you a nice, bump to buy something cheaper than what you would normally pay. As an example, recently when I was at Flesh and Blood Worlds, I had an extra Hunter's Clave. I sold it to a vendor for $13 store credit, and I was able to get my Rainbow Foil Grasp of the Arknight for $50 instead of the 63 that was on TCG Player. Now, you're not making money selling for store credit, but maybe there's a card that you want, you've been looking to get. So even though you're not making money, you're taking off a little bit off the top of a card that you've been looking to get. Like I said, I recommend selling to players. Vendors, you're getting a lot less for your cards. So it's tough selling to vendors, but if you're getting store credit, you're going to get a little bit more value. Just make sure they have something that you want on their inventory. Now, something to note, not all vendors are the same. If you're selling them for store credit and the card that you want might be overpriced, when I was in the venue, I was walking around looking for a Grasp of the Arknight. I also went on the Discord and Facebook and asked if anybody was selling them, and no one got back to me. So I just decided to pick one up from the vendor. And like I said, the vendors had different prices on them, most of them above what TCG Player was at the time. But luckily, I did find one that was for 63. I sat down with them and I told them about the clave. They said they'll give me $13. And all of that made me decide to buy the grass since they weren't overcharging, since they were taking my card. Now, I didn't make money, but I did get a card that I wanted for a pretty reasonable price. Now, number 2, selling tickets / selling price wall. If you haven't been to a World Tour stop, there's a ton of side events to do where in the side events you can earn tickets and then you can use those tickets to buy things from the price wall, or many people are actually willing to buy the tickets. Now, I would not recommend getting the giant cards if you're strictly looking to buy something from the price wall to then sell it. I think the giant cards / oversized cards are a lot harder to find a buyer for. As cool and as amazing as they look, I think they're more for collection purposes. Now, I'm sure you could find a buyer. It's just going to be a lot harder to find someone that wants to buy it compared to the tokens, the special edition tokens. These are a lot easier to sell. Now, how do you enter these side events? You can just pay up front, or if you're able to get a Fabled or Go Again package, you get some vouchers along with a bunch of other goodies. Now, if you get the Fabled package, you're able to use your Fabled voucher to enter one of the big events, and you're also going to get more goodies while entering these events. But we're really going to be looking at the silver and the bronze tickets to play these side events. Now, just be sure to check the schedule on the page. You can make sure you know what time your event is happening. Sometimes you can do 2 or maybe even 3 events in one day, depending on your schedule. And of course, if you just click on them, they'll tell you how much it costs to enter, how many tickets you'll get for how many wins. And remember, you can put your vouchers together. So if you want to enter an event that's $80, you can put 2 silver vouchers together, or a silver and 2 bronze. And any questions you have about like when the events are, just check the schedule of your upcoming World Tour World Tour stops. Everything is on the website and even tells you how many tickets you're gonna get. Now, how do we sell our tickets? I mentioned the Facebook groups, I mentioned the Discord. A lot of people are going to be looking to buy tickets. Day one is when you're going to be getting the most value. If you can sell your tickets for 15 cents, that's probably some of the best value you can get. Day two, it'll be lower. And of course, if your event has a day three, it'll probably be the lowest it can get to. So if you can sell tickets on day one, that's usually the best time to sell them. But even day two and day three, getting some money for your tickets, especially if you have a lot of tickets, can be a pretty good way to make some extra money at the events. Now, last but not least, let's talk about the vouchers. If you bought a Fabled package and you have some vouchers, maybe you made day two of your event and you don't think you're going to have time to play side events, it's pretty common to sell your vouchers for $5 less than what you can enter an event with. So silver vouchers worth 40, you can pretty easily sell them for 35. Bronze worth 20, pretty easily sell them for 15. So put a little money back in your pockets. Or if you're looking to buy vouchers to play more side events, to get more tickets, to either sell the tickets or get something from the prize wall, just check the Facebook, check the Discord, look for people that are selling their vouchers, and if you think you got what it takes, grind these side events, make some money. Sometimes the side events are sealed, so if you open like a crazy majestic or two, you can get a lot of wins. Sometimes the side events are classic constructed, so if you've been doing great at locals and ProQuest and you think you're just going to go 4-0 and earn a ton of tickets, could be worth buying a voucher and getting some tickets out of it, and then either selling the tickets or getting some of these promos that are exclusive to the price wall and selling those promos. Or if you don't care too much about the money and you really just want some of the promos or oversized cards, it's available at the price wall. Now, that pretty much wraps it up. I know I went over a lot, so if you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments down below. I'll definitely answer it. And as Flesh and Blood is growing, I'm sure there'll be a lot of stops for 2026. So I'm very excited. Hopefully, there's another event near me soon or within the next year. And yeah, like I said, guys, any questions, leave it down below. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Peace.